So I'm going to try to pick it up there. If anyone cares, they can go back. It's like a diary where I've got a record. I had to leave Joseph's Way, and I'd saved just a few bucks over that period of time, and I was promised by a woman at was actually owned by Affordable Inn, and I'd already had a rough time at Affordable Inn when the Carl Barton's wife, the state trooper, Virginia state trooper, retired, took me there in August the 14th of '09, after fuel had been poured on my tent in the middle of the night at a campsite, and they were hosts there. Well, it all makes it look like they're doing me a favor, and I'm just this flaky woman running around with this little bag of pictures and all this stuff, and I couldn't make it up, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it's true. They're afraid of it, so I'm the one getting beat up. They just join the group, the crowd. So anyway, uh, Carl Barton's wife, and I'll reiterate on this, Linda, she took me to Affordable Suites. That's where Starkey Road is, and I started out trying to explain patterns that mind control murders were done in. Starkey is like Ringo Starr, or Starkey is his last name, so I started trying to tell that. But anyway, Carl Barton's wife took me there. She paid the security deposit, $150. 17 months I stayed there in hell. I sucked it up, and this is killing me moment by moment, the chemicals that I've inhaled. I'm allergic to them, but these chemicals would kill anybody. And by the way, there was Frida Barton had just prior to that. That's the same last name, and they are kin. Um, the law had moved in and taken her daughter's kids, and I found out this later. The only way that she might get them back was if she did what they told her with me. Well, she approached me and took me to what I know now was planned. I didn't at the time, over in Benton. That's near Roanoke here. It's just another city like Salem. And the minute I go in there and pay all my money thank goodness it was a month to month, I went in there, and so help me God, just like everywhere, the air conditioning goes out. And when then it starts pumping out, if you use it or don't use it, vapors and fumes, and you try to get something done about it. The laws told them to do it. So anyway, that's the background on that. Now then, I moved over from Bedford. By the way, I was up against the War Memorial where they had the British flag flying next to the American flag. How would you like to have been kidnapped like I was? I'm Victoria II, taken from a loving home, King Edward VIII, the real one, and my mother, Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe, the real Queen of England, Queen Mom, and brought over to a hellhole. And then at Joseph's Dream Apartments in Bedford, that's where I could look out the back window, and the Brits were taken over by the Americans. So that's all I'm going to say. When they got Elizabeth and George, her father, in there and stole it from my dad and me and kidnapped me. But anyway, I moved, and the woman that I called, that was February the 28th of 12, and I told her the situation, and I didn't know it was part of Affordable because they've been part of this ongoing soaking me too. And it's a joke. You cannot believe what people do behind closed doors when they think they're not going to have to pay for it. But anyway, this was owned by a Jew, um, and he owns several of them. But anyway, from Bedford I call, and it's called Corporate Suites on Northern Drive at Lakeside in Salem, and which is just a few miles. It's Roanoke. It's in the county, and I'm talking to her, and her name is Roberta. And come to find out later, I didn't know it was part of Corporate Suites, but I've called her and I told her the trouble I was having. She says, "Well, you know, my brother's a policeman over in Bedford, um, So you come over here, and we've got a cute little efficiency, and we'll make sure you're okay. Well, Bedford is where the Haysom murders happened, or the Lynchburg, outside Lynchburg. It was tried in Bedford Court in '87, and this is where Jens Oring was the diplomat's son, and he's in Buckingham, Dillwyn, Virginia. It's a state prison for murder he didn't commit, and Elizabeth Haysom didn't commit it. They were tried in Bedford, and believe you me, everybody there in Bedford knows it. You know who they come after? People actually hate me for trying to live. I've done nothing to these people except my money poured in here and all that goes with it. I've done nothing but tell them in my trying to live what was being done to me, about my kidnapping, about the mind control murders, and yes, they do believe it. But they've gone after me. So I'm at Corporate Suites. I had saved a few bucks, and by the way, I'm still wearing the same shoes that I managed to buy back in '11 when I was there. Now that's the only pair of shoes I have or have had. Plus I got a pair of pants, two pair of pants, and two shirts that I've worn for about 2 years at least now. So anyway, I'm at Corporate Suite, and ends up that it's owned by Affordable Suites, which I'd stayed in, and I didn't know they were the same. It doesn't matter. I have to have a place to live. I try to leave Roanoke, and I'm run back here. And I can't run anymore. That's the problem. I'm just about dead from it all, force feeding me chemicals and running me and everything. But when I got to corporate, and then I found out it was affordable, and I actually had met the Roberta, who's a black woman, and she was taken out of housekeeping, and just it's my understanding just before I came, and made manager. And I had met her before at one of the affordables, but when I got there, well, I ended up having to lose everything I had because what they did to me there was sick and ongoing. So I lost everything there. Now, here's the point. I've had to go back because to try to have a place to live, I've had to go back to Edinburgh, and that was '06, and I've had to go back there October the 10th, and then I just went the other day because she called me. Come find out it was a false thing. But I've tried to tell about that, and then I'm going to quit. When I came back to Corporate uh, Suites from Joseph's Dream, owned by a Black Reverend Mower out of Washington, North Carolina, and you get Section 8 housing, Edinburgh, Richfield, and Joseph's Way are all federally funded. And he's got a whole slew of these places, Reverend Moore. So you get input of the federal government in it that's doing this to me. So while I was had left Joseph's Way and come over to, ended up, it's not funny, that's the only way I've gotten through this, is to try to make a joke or a laugh out of it rather than running out screaming. So I find out, well, I knew that the Reverend Moore had a lot of other new places like that. He just opened up throughout Virginia and the Carolinas and I don't know where else. But anyway, I got a list, and I remember the lady I spoke with in the corporate office. She sent me a list of his places, and she said, remember, I'll help you if I can. Well, she sent me those, and next door in Christiansburg, which is Virginia Tech, is right Blacksburg, they're all together there. They've just opened up this. This is owned by Reverend Moore, Joseph's Way. Her name's Scott, last name Scott, which, by the way, they've used in the murders, a bunch of them. And this is 2 years ago, I guess. Now, I left Corporate Suites because they run me off. The black woman, Roberta, that was it, and the owner showed up on the day that they'd soaked me and I couldn't stay anymore. And she rejected my application. She said they had to suddenly do background checks on me every